Dinner is often treated as the closing ritual of the day, yet biologically it is more like a signal flare sent into the body's internal timing system. As the sun sets, your physiology begins to shift almost automatically, guided by circadian rhythms that evolved to align metabolism with light and darkness. Hormones that promote alertness slowly decline, while those that support repair and rest begin to rise. When food arrives in the evening, especially in large or heavily processed forms, it speaks directly to this clock, sometimes reinforcing its natural rhythm and other times disrupting it. The body does not interpret all calories equally at night. A heavy dinner rich in sugars or refined carbohydrates can tell the metabolic system that daytime activity is still underway, prompting insulin release and digestive intensity at a moment when the body is preparing to slow down. This confusion can ripple through multiple systems, delaying the onset of sleep, increasing nighttime blood sugar, and subtly raising stress hormones. In contrast, a thoughtfully composed evening meal communicates a different message. It says that the work of the day is ending, that fuel is available but not excessive, and that the body can safely transition into maintenance mode. Circadian biology is deeply sensitive, and even small misalignments repeated over time can accumulate into larger metabolic consequences. Late and heavy dinners have been shown to shift internal clocks, altering how cells respond to glucose and fat the following day. This is why some people feel groggy in the morning or struggle with energy despite adequate sleep. The body is not malfunctioning, it is responding logically to mixed signals. When dinner timing and composition align with the natural slowing of metabolism, insulin sensitivity improves, digestion becomes more efficient, and nighttime repair processes can proceed without interruption. This alignment is not about restriction or perfection, but about respect for the body's temporal intelligence. Eating earlier in the evening, choosing foods that digest calmly, and allowing space between dinner and sleep help reinforce the natural rhythm rather than compete with it. Over time, this creates a sense of internal predictability, where hormones rise and fall as expected, energy stabilizes, and sleep becomes more restorative. The internal clock is not rigid, but it is remarkably responsive, adjusting its signals based on repeated behaviors. Dinner, then, becomes more than nourishment, it becomes instruction. Each evening meal either tells the body to remain alert and reactive, or it grants permission to slow down, repair, and prepare for the next day. When this message is clear and consistent, the body responds with greater ease, deeper rest, and a subtle but meaningful sense of metabolic harmony that carries into long-term health and daily vitality.
Sleep is often viewed as something that begins when the lights go out. Yet biologically, it starts much earlier, influenced by the final meal of the day. The foods consumed in the evening quietly shape the nervous system's ability to shift from alertness to rest. When dinner is heavy or unbalanced, digestion remains active well into the night, keeping the body in a semi-aroused state. Blood sugar fluctuations trigger subtle stress responses, and the nervous system stays vigilant when it should be relaxing. This can delay the onset of sleep, fragment deep sleep stages, and leave the body feeling unrested despite spending enough hours in bed. In contrast, an evening meal that is balanced and calm in its metabolic impact supports a smoother neurological transition. Certain nutrients influence the availability of amino acids that contribute to neurotransmitters involved in relaxation and sleep regulation. When digestion proceeds steadily rather than urgently, the brain is freed from constant metabolic signaling and can more easily follow its natural descent into rest. This is why some nights feel effortless, where sleep arrives gently and stays deep, while others feel restless without an obvious cause. The difference often lies in what and how late we ate. The connection between dinner and sleep is not immediate or dramatic, it is subtle and cumulative. Repeated nights of late or heavy meals can gradually blunt the body's sensitivity to sleep cues, making it harder to wind down even when external conditions are ideal. Over time, this can affect not only sleep duration, but also sleep architecture, reducing the time spent in restorative stages where memory consolidation, tissue repair, and emotional regulation occur. A thoughtfully composed dinner helps stabilize blood sugar overnight, reducing micro-awakenings and supporting continuous sleep cycles. The nervous system responds to this stability by lowering cortisol and allowing melatonin to rise naturally. This hormonal environment fosters deeper rest and a more refreshed awakening. Understanding this relationship shifts the perspective on sleep from a nighttime problem to an evening practice. Preparing for sleep begins with how gently the body is treated in the hours leading up to it. Dinner becomes part of a larger rhythm, one that signals safety and sufficiency rather than urgency and excess. When the body senses that energy demands are met without overload, it relaxes into sleep more willingly. This creates a feedback loop where better sleep improves metabolic health, and improved metabolism further enhances sleep quality. Over time, this quiet alignment between dinner and rest can transform nights that feel restless into nights that feel restorative, not through force or supplements, but through biological respect. Sleep, in this sense, is not something to chase, but something to invite, and the invitation is often written in the language of the evening meal, spoken softly to the nervous system, and answered through deeper, more nourishing rest. Longevity is often imagined as something shaped by dramatic interventions or distant future choices, yet some of its most powerful influences occur quietly each evening. The body has evolved to use the nighttime hours for restoration, repair, and renewal, relying on a natural fasting window that begins after the final meal of the day. When dinner is timed thoughtfully and kept metabolically gentle, this window opens smoothly, allowing cellular processes linked to longevity to unfold without interference. During this period, the body shifts its focus away from digestion and toward internal maintenance, clearing damaged proteins, repairing tissues, and restoring metabolic balance. When eating continues late into the night or meals are heavy and energy-dense, this fasting window becomes compressed or fragmented, and the body remains in a state of constant processing rather than renewal. Over time, this pattern subtly accelerates wear rather than preservation. Evening overeating keeps insulin elevated for longer periods, signaling storage when the body is meant to be repairing, and this repeated signal can gradually impair metabolic flexibility. Longevity is deeply tied to the body's ability to switch efficiently between states of abundance and rest, and dinner plays a central role in that switch. A lighter, earlier evening meal creates space for the body to enter a low insulin state overnight, which supports cellular cleanup mechanisms associated with healthy aging. These processes are not dramatic or immediately noticeable, yet they accumulate quietly, influencing inflammation levels, immune resilience, and metabolic efficiency over decades. The relationship between dinner and longevity is not about calorie restriction in a harsh sense, but about timing and respect for biological rhythms. When the body is given a clear boundary between nourishment and rest, it responds with improved repair capacity. This nightly pause from digestion allows cells to redirect energy toward long-term preservation rather than short-term management. Late, heavy dinners blur this boundary, asking the body to multitask continuously, which increases oxidative stress and reduces the efficiency of cellular renewal. Thoughtful evening eating, by contrast, honors the idea that longevity is built not through excess, but through periods of restraint that allow recovery. It is in these quiet hours of metabolic rest that the body performs some of its most protective work. Over time, individuals who support this rhythm often experience not just longer life, but better quality of life, marked by steadier energy, reduced chronic inflammation, and greater metabolic resilience. Longevity emerges as a byproduct of alignment rather than effort, shaped by daily habits that respect the body's need for rhythm and recovery. Dinner, then, becomes an opportunity to support the future self, not through deprivation, but through thoughtful simplicity that allows the body to rest, renew, and quietly invest in the processes that sustain health across time. Mornings often feel like a verdict on the night before, yet the root of that experience is frequently found at the dinner table rather than in the bedroom. Waking up with clarity, steady energy, and a sense of lightness is not solely determined by how long you slept, but by how peacefully your body was allowed to function during the night. When digestion remains active for hours after sleep begins, the body is forced to divide its attention between processing food and restoring systems. This internal competition can leave you waking with heaviness, stiffness, or mental fog, even after a full night in bed. In contrast, when dinner is gentle and well-timed, digestion completes earlier, allowing the body to enter the night with fewer demands. Blood sugar remains more stable, stress hormones stay low, and the nervous system can remain in a restorative state. This creates the conditions for a smoother transition into morning. Waking becomes less abrupt, less resisted, because the body is not emerging from metabolic strain. Many people associate difficult mornings with aging or lack of discipline, yet often it is a reflection of overnight imbalance. A heavy or late dinner can lead to subtle blood sugar drops during the night, triggering stress responses that disturb sleep architecture. These disturbances may not be remembered, but their effects are felt as morning fatigue, irritability, or a craving for quick energy. Thoughtful evening meals help prevent this cycle by providing steady nourishment without excess, allowing glucose levels to remain calm until morning. The result is a more natural rise in alertness as cortisol increases gradually at dawn, rather than in sharp, stressful bursts. Over time, this pattern reshapes the relationship with mornings, turning them from a struggle into a continuation of rest. Morning energy becomes a reflection of metabolic harmony rather than willpower. This also influences appetite upon waking, reducing intense cravings and supporting more intuitive eating patterns throughout the day. When the body wakes rested at a cellular level, movement feels easier, focus arrives sooner, and motivation follows naturally. This ease is not accidental. It is built night after night through small, consistent choices. The right dinner acts as a bridge between days, closing one cycle without burden and opening the next with clarity. It teaches the body that nights are for restoration and mornings are for gentle activation. Over weeks and months, this rhythm compounds into a sense of vitality that feels stable rather than forced. Waking up easier is not about optimizing mornings in isolation, but about honoring the biological continuity between evening and dawn, recognizing that how the body is treated at night determines how it greets the day, with energy, resilience, and a quiet readiness to engage with life.